We were working with a client who was stuck at $200,000 worth of business capital for their company, and they were having issues breaking through that into the $500,000 range in available business credit. And so there's three different areas that we looked at with their business that I want to share with you. Now, the first place that we looked at with our client when we were helping him build and install the simple funding setup into his business is we took a complete audit and we looked at, okay, what's actually coming up for the business right now that we can quickly address. And so the first place that we looked at was, since he was already coming in pretty seasoned, already had over $200,000 in available capital, was you already have UCC filings placed against the business. Now, if you have no idea what UCC filings are, these are essentially liens that are placed against the business. So think of it kind of like when you go out and you buy a car, there's a lien placed on the car. So if you go out and you sell the car, the first person, which is the bank in this case, that gets paid on the proceeds of the car is the bank. And then if there's anything left over, you'll get some of the funds wired to your account. And then obviously there's no more debt owed to or on the vehicle. So you can essentially do with it as you please. They can't come back and recall it. It's the same thing here. And so a UCC a filing which stands for Uniform Commercial Code, he had it filed against him off of a previous line of credit that he had taken for the business. Now, all UCC filings aren't created equal, and all UCC filings aren't necessarily bad. Here's why. You have UCC filings that are in good standing, meaning you've been making your payments on, let's say, that line of credit or on that capital that you've borrowed on time. But then there's other UCC filings where you have like an outstanding UCC filing, which in this case, it's you've been late on payments or you owe debt to that bank or to that vendor or to that financial institution. And so in that case, your file is going to be graded completely differently by which type of UCC filing you have. Now, in this gentleman's case, he had a positive UCC filing, which again, it's a good standing. But what was working against him was the UCC filing that he had was from a bigger bank. And if you know anything about bigger banks, they have certain like placeholders, and it's called placements. And so they had a first place UCC filing. What that means is if, God forbid, the business goes under, the first bank or the first institution that's in line, if there's a liquidation process in the company, would have been that bank. And so he kept trying to go back in to that bank and he kept trying to say, hey, can I get more capital from you guys? Even though I already have a UCC filing placed by you guys on my file. So what we recommended was, hey, we may want to take a look at an alternative, which is maybe a company that's okay with having a second place UCC filings. You typically get those a bit more with smaller banks and credit unions where they don't necessarily need to take first place on a UCC filing. If you're a small business owner or real estate investor and you're looking to get a simple funding setup, kind of like what we're talking about in this video, installed directly into your business so that you can get access to capital, not just where you're at now, but as more importantly, you continue to grow, we'll love to connect with you. Let's go ahead and see where your business is at, what you're looking to do, and if we can actually help. Book a call down below, insideinnercircle.com. Let's continue with the video. The second bottleneck that we addressed in his business was total credit exposure. What this means is you take a look at the entire picture of how much capital this specific entity has and how much capital he can still get access to. In this case, how much capital can the business get access to? And so going back to the example of the big banks, most big banks are going to extend to you about, give or take, $250,000 between the blend of business lines of credit and 0% business credit cards, right around $250K, before they start asking for more documentation like your tax transcripts, your tax returns, bank statements, and they want to see far more liquidity, right? They start having you jump through more hoops. Now, if you're a legit business owner, which we work with quite often, then we obviously don't have any issues showing these type of or showing this type of paperwork, showing these types of things. But if maybe you're just starting out, then maybe you don't have access to tax returns just yet, and that's totally fine. Just know that the total credit exposure you're going to be capped out on is usually going to be right around that 250 threshold. Sometimes it can start lower with some banks, especially depending on where the economy is. Sometimes it can start as low as 100K. You get access to the first 100K with them, and then they start asking for things like tax returns, or they want to start seeing some more cash flow, some more liquidity in the banks. And so same thing happened there. We looked at the file. We said, okay, You have about 4 lines with this bank. You have about 2 lines with this bank. You have 1 line with this bank. Have we considered maybe condensing these files together? So maybe you just have access to to 2 lines of capital on one side, 1 line of capital on the other side, and then maybe taking a look at a second or third tier type of bank, maybe like a regional bank or maybe like a local bank. And the reason why we would typically recommend that, because remember, it plays off of the UCC filings, and so they're going to be less strict and less strenuous on the documentation that they want to see on the business, apart from obviously the typical paperwork, the LLC, the business owner's credit profile, like all of that. I'm talking about actual cash flow. And they're going to be a bit more reliant on, hey, a relationship. Are you depositing funds into our account? So are you building up that partnership? And then how strong is your credit? And when they start to look up the business credit profile, how on time have you not just been making your personal credit payments as a business owner, but how have you been making your business payments as a business owner? And so those are some ways that you're able to bypass constantly having to show financial documentation. Now, I love showing financial documentation because it actually makes you stand out from a ton of other business owners that are coming in that don't have these things lined up. So if you're listening to me right now and you have a business that you can flex that cash flow muscle, and you have a business where you can flex tax returns, we play that game all the time. I'm just giving you a different alternative that you can use if maybe you don't have these things ready to go. The third and final bottleneck that we had to address with him was his business credit report, specifically his business credit ratings. Now, don't confuse this with the business credit score. Anyone can get an 80 paydex score, if I'm being honest with you. Anyone can get an 80 paydex score with the Nebraska Street. You just get a couple of different trade line accounts, and then you're off to the races. What we did with him was a little bit different. We took a look at his business credit ratings. Now, if you have no idea what the difference is, business credit score, I want you to think of it kind of like a weight on the scale, which is, hey, you just weigh yourself every morning, but it doesn't actually give you your bone density. It doesn't give you your muscle mass. It doesn't give you your body fat percentage. When we're looking at a business credit rating, we're taking a look at all those factors. We're taking a look at kind of like blood panels. We're taking a look at, okay, what's the weight of the person? I'm going to tie it in, I promise. What's your weight? What is your age? What's your cardio level? How much are you working out every single week? Are you smoking? Are you drinking? What's your sleep? What's your sleep like? And so now we can get a full metric, and a full baseline metric rather, on how healthy this person actually is. It's the same thing with a business credit rating. A business credit score just takes a look at payment history. A business credit rating takes a look at a few other metrics on the index. It takes a look at what's your payment history, how much cash are you typically paying back, or how much capital, rather, credit, are you typically paying back every single month? This is important because if your business went from, let's say, constantly paying off the cars in full, or you were constantly keeping your utilization on the business credit side under 40%, and now over the last 3 months, you're closer to that 90, 95%. Well, guess what? The same way that you have a credit utilization issue on the personal side, and the same way that they measure that, that's also being measured on the business credit side. But we're going to take it a step further. How many employees does your business have based on the industry that it's in? What type of industry is it in? Where is it located in the country? What are the trends of capital that are coming in? So over the last 12 months, the business generated $1 million. Over the last 6 months, it looks like we're in an upward trend. We're at 1.5, 1.6, versus, hey, if the business last year or the year before, last 24 months, generated $1 million, now it looks like the business is maybe going to generate $500,000 based on the numbers that you're putting in on your credit report, on your credit profile, based on the data that the banks are collecting on you. Well, guess what? It looks like the business is on its way to default. And so we had to get strategic around how his business credit rating was actually being perceived and was actually being structured based on the data that the banks were feeding him. This is why it's important to do what we call quarterly business reviews. We do this with clients all the time, where we take a look at, okay, where's the business at right now? Where's our earnings? How much capital has come in? How much credit do we currently have access to? How much credit are we looking to move into? How much credit have we currently allocated toward the business? How much credit have we already paid back? Where's the actual health of the business? And so now you're playing a completely different game versus just going in and applying for a bunch of business credit cards, which, in all honesty, it'll probably get you to that first 100, 250K, but it's going to be extremely difficult to scale past that, which is what our client ultimately wanted to move away from. He didn't just want to rely on business credit cards. He didn't just want to be a one-legged stool. He wanted to have business lines of credit, business credit cards. He wanted to start venturing into SBA types of funding products, which is ultimately what we've worked with him on and what we continue to work with clients on day in, day out. So those are some pitfalls that we obviously, and some bottlenecks that we helped him address. If you found value in this content and you're looking to get a business funding setup installed directly into your business, it's not for everyone. First step is connecting with you to see where you're at in your business, see if we can actually help. If we can, we'll let you know what that process looks like. If you want to jump on a call with our team, we can run you through the complete audit, let you know if we can help you or not. Go ahead, book a call down below, insightinnercircle.com. We'll love to connect with you. Either way, we'll leave you with some resources that leaves you better off than how you came in. But other than that, I appreciate you guys checking this out. Until next time, everyone, I will see you in the next video. Bye.